welcome to Brand X Reviews. We're doing a special review today, kind of discussing the recent kind of news that's come out about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the general kind of disagreements about it, and kind of like the controversy that's kind of sprung up over some comments that Joss Whedon's made.
Yeah, it does seem like it's something that is kind of sounds like he's a bit PO'd about. I mean, it's come under articles such as Joss Whedon says Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. rubbed the folks making Marvel movies the wrong way. It seems to have done that with some of the fans as well, myself included early on in the series, but I gave it a chance. I've enjoyed it as much as the next person, I guess, and I'm not really into TV shows, so if I'm endorsing this, it's got to be worth a watch.
And given that you rabidly hate anything you're remotely connected to Joss Whedon.
Yeah, it's a bit too kind of teenagery for me. But there's some comments in here. There's an article I've got. It's like brandxreviews.com. I've kind of copied it from elsewhere. But the quotes themselves, he's kind of suggesting, well, not suggesting, he's all out saying, you know, we killed Agent Coulson in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the Avengers Assemble 2012. As far as we're concerned, in the movies, he's dead. So it kind of makes you ask, well, is this Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series actually canon with the films? Is it part of the same universe, or is it more like a what if comic that Marvel does quite famously? So I'll read some of the comments anyway. Now these are quotes, so I'll just read them off. In terms of the narrative of these guys, the Avengers, Agent Coulson's loss was very important. When I created the television show, it was sort of on the understanding that this can work and we can do it with integrity. But these Avengers movies are for the people who see the Avengers movies and nothing else. It would neither make sense nor be useful to say, oh, by the way, remember me? I died. So he's basically separating the two universes.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of understand it to a degree. Because coming into it as like somebody that doesn't watch the TV show, you'd be like, well, why the hell is he suddenly back alive again? To even make that work, you'd have to like dedicate a fair bit of your film, like at least like 5-10 minutes of screen time in a film that isn't about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to address the fact that Coulson's still alive, and they don't really need to do that. I mean, that's just kind of
easier
silly.
just to not have him in.
Because that's just going to be dead air for people who don't care about Coulson. And, you know, it's just unnecessary, so I can kind of understand why they don't want to bring him into the films again.
And it takes away from that first film his death, because we haven't really killed off a lot of characters in this franchise and kept them dead. There's only really characters like Frigga, that name just makes me laugh, from Thor the Dark World, you know, Thor's like, you know, mum kind of thing. But the other thing to bear in mind as well is that this series was kind of launched as Joss Whedon's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of thing. So I mean, I think
some people have kind of brought it. Well, some people have brought it into. I think it was ABC. What was it, ABC? During the interview they did, like when they were doing the discussion on it.
Oh, AMC.
AMC, that's it. Not ABC. What the hell? Non-name remembering motherfucker people. They were kind of pointing out, like, yeah, they'd put Joss Whedon's name over all of it, but he only did, like, the first episode and, like, a couple more since then. He's not really the, like, front runner.
I think it was his brother and his, like...
Yeah, because we kind of argued this before, because you're like, oh, it's a very Joss Whedon show, and I'm like, I've watched all the Joss Whedon shows, it's not that Joss Whedon needs to be.
It's got, like, fingerprints of it, though. It's like sort of...
Yeah, it's got, like, elements of it, but, it's seriously, for some... If you watched a lot of Joss Whedon shows and you go into this expecting the same sort of thing, it really hasn't been. It's like a very different kind of vibe to it almost. So I can kind of see that maybe he's a bit pissed off because his name's been like really associated with this, and it isn't really his like.
Yeah, his thing. I think that's part of the reason why he's not doing any more of these films, at least for the time being.
Yeah, I think AMC were also like pointing out that he's like very burnt out apparently, because they keep like dragging him in on this film and that film's like to kind of like consult on this and consult on that. I think he's kind of a bit burnt out and pissed off over the whole thing.
And he does tend to be somebody who does his own thing better than he does other people's things. He's not a director for hire as much as he is a creator and a writer. I know J.J. Abrams is fairly similar to that, isn't he? I think he's better off kind of doing his own thing, but they kind of have brought him on. I know, in fact, case in point, because he's not doing another Star Wars film for the time being, isn't J.J. Abrams, because he's burnt out. Similar sort of situation.
I mean, it must be kind of when you're used to making up your own universes, your own characters, your own rules. to have to operate within like a strict like framework of like, you've got to have this Avenger, you've got to have that Avenger, you've got to have like this character. This has sort of got to happen, and this can't happen because it doesn't fit in with the. It must be kind of like limiting and a bit annoying.
Being a director for hire.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what they're going to do the next Avengers films, which is Infinity War Part 1 and 2, so that's 2018, 2019, which seems like a far distance away, but it's the same distance to the next one as Avengers Assemble was to Age of Ultron. It's a 3-year gap. Granted, there's going to be 2 films back-to-back then, 12 months apart. They're going to be directed by the Russo brothers that did Captain America the Winter Soldier, so they're definitely, it's in the right hands anyway. Maybe with 2 guys it'd probably be able to lighten the load a bit. But you say anyway, like, he's kind of tied in with what he has to do, and I think that's part of another, kind of moving on a bit, what another quote of what he said was how doing the films, the TV series can kind of mess up that, because like, well, you can't do this because... I'll just read this and then we can kind of comment on it. So this is a quote. I think actually the movie people were a little bit cross about the TV show. They were sort of like, well, you can have this but not this, and this but not that. It's complicated enough as it is without me adding another layer of complication. We also created a TV show called S.H.I.E.L.D. right before they made a movie where they destroyed S.H.I.E.L.D. So everyone's having a great time. So yeah, basically saying how it's kind of. I mean, again, Star Wars is having a similar thing with a lot of their comics and stuff. They're now saying what's canon and what isn't, because they don't want to be tied down with all the other books and stuff. That
was also another thing I was going to bring up, because Marvel are kind of in bed with Disney to some degree. So I think that the word canon is very suspect, because Disney have shown if it like suits their interest, they will just kill it all.
Exactly. But Star Wars having that problem, or will have that problem down the line, because now they can say what's canon and what ain't, and it's easy to make films. But in a few years' time, they're going to be like, well, you know, we can't. Well,
they're already saying they want to start doing their own like books and their own extended universe. And I'm sorry, I was really into the original extended universe up to a point. I kind of like went off it the last few years, you know, kind of like moved away from it. But I certainly won't be getting into another like extended universe, because it's like, well, what's the point? Because, you know, another like 5-10 years down the line, Disney's going to decide, right, we're going to do another reboot or whatever. So like, what's the point of getting invested in it?
Yeah, and how do you know some other company won't buy Disney?
Yeah.
And then,
well, exactly. I mean, the whole draw of the extended Star Wars universe back in the day, back in the 90s, was this was the continuation of the story. This was as official as you were likely to get at that time.
Well, we did, because me and you, we're in a similar boat now with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, not really, because I think we kind of agree now. But to what we were in the late 90s with Star Wars, because me and you used to bicker about... This is, into context, this is before Phantom Menace came out. And all I had was 3 films. That was Star Wars. Anything else didn't count. You, on the other hand, had read the books. So Star Wars to you was a much bigger universe. Oh, it's Kyle Katarn and Mara Jade. I was like, doesn't count. Doesn't count at all. It's just licensing stuff. I don't care if George Lucas wrote the books. That's my opinion. I'm not throwing at you now. I'm just saying that was what we were kind of arguing about. And ultimately, for better or for worse, the prequels just shat all over the extended universe.
Yeah, it was usually in like really stupid ways. It was like, if you're going to add something to it, fine. If you're going to change something just for the sake of it, then why the hell bother?
But then I kind of ultimately now am technically right in the official sense. But if that's your Star Wars universe, I'm saying this to you, and I'm saying this to anyone watching this, and same for Marvel, if that's your universe, it's canon to you. At the end of the day, canon means what is real. These films are not real. If you want that to count, fine. If you want Christopher Reeve's Superman to count with Michael Keaton's Batman, do it. It's, you know, it's not real anyway, so you might as well do it. But I mean, we're kind of saying like, what degree are they on an official sense? Yeah. I think if Kevin Feige says something about the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think ultimately, because Joss Whedon, he's produced, had some hand in like kind of like the.
But he isn't calling the shots with Marvel. Let's put it that way.
He's done 2 films, not 2 of the 11 films so far, and he's not doing any more. So ultimately, he's not the top man. Kevin Feige, in my opinion, is the top man. What he says.
Yeah, and like I say, there could be some bitterness going on here. It's certainly within the realms of possibility.
It feels that way.
I know for a fact he's been like very like vocal against like big studios before, because he's been burnt quite often with like bringing new shows out that just haven't had any kind of support from the networks, and just got like canned with almost no warning when they haven't like immediately been blockbuster successes.
Like Firefly.
Yeah, Firefly, Dollhouse, both of them got killed well before the time, and they're miles better than a lot of the other shite that got like multiple series.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of Serenity, the film, which kind of ties in with Firefly. I've never seen it, I'm just not interested in it. But I know a lot of people are. I know a lot of people that really like that film. So and like a lot of people that have recommended it, like sci-fi sort of friends of mine. So he's certainly somebody who knows how to please fans, which is why I think he was good to do these films, just because he knows how.
Yeah, he's also he knows comics. He's done like a fairly successful run on the X-Men and things like that.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, it seems very much like he's got pissed off and having a bit of a breakdown, to be honest. What else has he said in that interview? Anything else we need to...
I think it was pretty much it. I mean, I think one of the major discussions that's going... I know we got on that AMC video I kind of showed you, but a lot of other people are saying this as well. It's similar to Daredevil in a way, but not as much, because they're not really pushing it as being canon. But the issue of, well... In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, it is canon, it is in continuation with it, because they have had major characters from the films. And we'll kind of include Agent Carter as an extension of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We'll kind of throw all that in as well. They've had major characters from the films, like Lady Sif, Nick Fury, Agent Carter, obviously, Howard Stark, Agent Sitwell, who else have we had?
Maria Hill.
Yeah, Maria Hill. Agent Coulson, obviously, even though he's dead, but, they brought him back.
Lady Sif.
Yeah, I said that, yeah. So, quite a few characters. No, there's one article said, oh, that's just kind of chicken feed,
But then again, how can you really expect more? Because again, it goes back to this. I mean, I definitely think they should just put like a major person, like have an Iron Man appearance in the show or something.
Downey Jr. has expressed interest, and so has Chris Pratt of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Really, there's no excuse for them not doing something like that, because it would give the show a lot of
credence.
Yeah, at the moment it is kind of dying by bits, I think, because they just aren't really giving it the support it deserves. This series, I've enjoyed it, but it just hasn't had the same feeling of pace as the end of the first season had.
It really picked up. I mean, I did not like that series at all, but because you'd recommended it, having watched those later episodes, the Blu-ray came out and I just watched them like throughout the course of a couple of weeks, thinking, well, I really enjoyed it.
And kind of rewatching some of the earlier ones in the eyes of where the Ultimate series was going, they actually improved a lot because I kind of understood what was going on. But yeah, it's been a really troubled season.
I
know a lot of people have some serious hatred for it, and I just don't get it.
And those same people will be like watching Gotham as well and saying it's really good.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I harp on Gotham a fair bit, but I haven't actually watched more than the first couple episodes. But I don't really know about Gotham because I haven't really heard after the initial discussions died down. I haven't really heard anything about it since.
It's just concept-wise, just not interested.
Yeah.
But
well, like I was snarking to you when we were both watching Daredevil at the moment. Not together, but we're both working our way through it. Like, well, what they're doing, they've got Daredevil in the show, that's stupid. You should have him, as a 12-year-old.
As a teenager.
And then you can have, you're focusing about Ben Ulrich and other characters you don't really care about.
That will probably be about, 40 years older than him when he's a teenager. It's like, what the hell? Does that work? So, yeah.
Instead, you've got a very good, almost like a Daredevil year one. He's just starting out. He doesn't even have the red costume yet, and it really works.
And it stands on his own. I mean, we did a separate video about Daredevil, whether it's canon or not, so you can always watch that.
I mean, so far, there are nods to the Marvel continuity, but it could just as easily be nodding to mainstream continuity.
Yeah.
They're very, very slight.
Yeah. But kind of going back to what I was saying as well about having the characters from the films in the series, people say, well, that legitimises it. Well, sort of, but that's one way. That's the films influencing the show. What they really need is a show to influence the films to really kind of connect him, especially in people's minds that don't even watch the show, because that might make them want to. I mean, I'm kind of going into a marketing aspect now, but it would to me.
Yeah, it's what I kind of when I refer to them not really supporting the show like they should. That's what I mean. I mean, I can understand they can't start devoting chunks of the films to shilling the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. But they really need to do something, give it some kind of lifeline if they're going to keep it going.
There is a major thing that they've done, but we're not actually going to see it come to fruition until 2019 when the Inhumans film comes out.
And that is, like I say, assuming that the stuff we've seen about the Inhumans so far is going to be anything like what we see in the films.
Yeah, because I mean, if this series was cancelled after series, I don't know if it's got another series or not. But
Yeah, I was having a look today and I can't really find any information on a Series 3 or not.
even if it did, I can't see it living past Series 3. But
Not unless it does something special to pick itself up, unfortunately. And I'm talking as a fan of it. I like this show.
Yeah.
I liked it kind of from the third or fourth episode. I kind of like finally got into the swing of it and started enjoying it.
But even if they cancel after even say 3 years, that would be 2016, it'll have gone on with. By that time when the Inhumans comes out, the series will have been off the air for 3 years. Are the makers of the Inhumans movie really going to care about concepts that they established in a series that nobody watched? It's been off the air for 3 years. They'd probably just ditch it, to be honest. Characters like Quake and some other Inhumans that they've established. I mean, I don't know what their intentions are at this moment in time, but we'll see.
Somehow I seriously would doubt we're going to see any of these Inhumans in the Inhumans film.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because you could very easily throw in cameos of them without, like, tying yourself down to anything.
And the kind of the quality of the stardom, I guess, the stardom status of the actors in this series, even like in terms of ones that, you know, what's her name, Sky, you know, she's kind of like the pretty girl of the series. I can't really see her kind of holding her own on screen alongside like big major stars in the Avengers franchise on screen. I think she would be reduced to like a smaller part, similar to kind of part that we saw with like Hawkeye's wife. You know, that kind of... The reason I mention that is because she was a TV, like quite a big TV actress, was that, and you probably forgot about her. You know, but on TV she was in ER. She was in it for a lot of years. She was really good in that.
I'm told I never watched ER.
No,
So.
but point is, you know, she was really good in that, and she had a real charisma about it. But put her on screen alongside people like that, and they just fall flat. And I think somebody like this Sky character, although she's good in this series, she's quite a good actress.
Yeah, Daisy Johnson.
Yeah.
Quake.
But put her on screen, she's going to be fairly kind of outshined, basically. Nothing against her, that's just the way it is, TV actors, movie actors. There aren't really a lot of TV actors that have gone on to be made, and not a lot. I mean, there are, like George Clooney, for example, another ER example. Michael J. Fox, people like that started on TV. There's not a huge amount that have gone on to be... I think Bradley Cooper, wasn't he in Alias?
You ask me these questions?
You know Bradley Cooper is, don't you? He was in The Hangover, he was in The A-Team. What else?
Two films I'm not seeing.
Did the voice for Groot... Not Groot, Tails Vin Diesel.
I was going to say Vin Diesel was not in...
No, the voice for Rocket Raccoon. I'll look him up while I'm doing that. I've got a picture of him here. How do you not know who Bradley Cooper is? You non-face remembering bastard. You'll know him when you see him. Him, Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, I think he was, yeah.
TV actor that's gone on to, you know, but there's not a huge amount that have, you know, gone on to be that successful, so it's just, the point I'm making is that's... It's got a cold, sorry. But that point I'm making is that's the whole thing. It's not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is full of shit actors, it's just TV actors versus movie actors. They're always going to be outshone with a few exceptions.
Yeah, I think either Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. needs to find its own kind of niche, like, quite aggressively, and move away from, like, the films, or basically the higher-ups at Marvel need to, like, slap a few heads together and say, look, you guys need to work together better. I mean, the show has the potential to be something very interesting, like a wider view at the cinematic universe, because they talk about that a lot. However, next to the comic universes, the cinematic universe is really small. Whereas you have all these other, like, potential of stories. I mean, like, what the hell does Iron Man do the rest of the time when he's not, like, fighting Extremis and stuff like that? I mean, presumably he's off doing other things. There's other things going on in this wider universe that we don't get to see in the films. So I see the potential of TV shows like Agent Carter, Daredevil, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because they give you, like, a wider look at this universe, like, different parts of it.
Particularly in Civil War, because I mean, I did a mailbag video. In fact, you could probably, maybe as an extension to that, Paul sent a mailbag request in saying, how can you do a Civil War film? How is it going to be so epic when you've only got a handful of characters in your cinematic universe? And I made the point that at least we've got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that you could technically have brought characters in. I don't think they're going to do that, but it does show that there are other characters out there.
Yeah,
that you're
one
not
thing
seeing
that I would say about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the moment, they do seem to be like running some kind of anti-superhuman kind of like sentiment going on. Because the whole like dividing S.H.I.E.L.D. at the moment seems to be on the whole subject of powered people.
I've read that is intentional for that reason. That's not.
I would be highly surprised if it wasn't.
Yeah, because the way it's going towards.
Because there's quite a few like S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Because Edward James, almost the kind of like head guy of the alternate S.H.I.E.L.D. that aren't like aligned with Coulson.
Is it the real S.H.I.E.L.D. it's called?
Yeah. Whatever you want to call it, basically. I don't think they have like an official name. They're both just S.H.I.E.L.D. They're very kind of like wary of powered people, and they seem to be definitely. That's their main gripe against Coulson. I mean, he's got this alien shit in his blood. He's like teaming up with people like Sky, who's now got powers. You actually get to see her using them more in combat because she actually like does the Quake thing on a bunch of Hydra agents. And you've also got people like Deathlock running around, and they're really not happy about all these super-powered people like running around.
Well, on that note, that kind of ties in with something you were asking me off camera before about, you know, we've made a lot of assumptions about Civil War, but what is the actual? Because we're assuming.
Yes, we've made a lot of assumptions, and I was asking like, what was the actual like? What is the word from Marvel? What have they?
I've got it here. This is the official plot synopsis. The events of the Age of Ultron left an imprint on the world. The collective governments of the world pass an act designed to regulate all superhuman activity. This polarises opinion amongst the Avengers, causing two factions to side with Iron Man or Captain America, which causes an epic battle between former allies. So yeah, that is where they're going with the show. Point you're making ties in with that. We know it ties in with what's to come in the movies. So although they might not be having characters in the series, in the films, and having in-your-face stuff established, they're sowing the seeds for it. I mean, they've been doing it in film as well, but the series as well knows what's coming in the movies.
I'd argue at the moment there's more of a like indication of that in the series than there has been in Age of Ultron, because we were kind of surprised at how
little there was in it.
Yeah, I mean, Captain America and Iron Man parted on pretty amicable terms.
That's something other people have said as well.
And it wasn't like there was any indication of like, holy shit, like everybody's so pissed off. I mean, that's one of the reasons I started thinking like, well, how much do we actually know? Because if we'd have come into like Age of Ultron like long before anything was announced and going, oh well, it'll be this and it'll be that because this is what happens in the comic, we've been dead wrong, because apart from the name, this is way different from Age of Ultron in the comics.
Yeah,
as far as I know.
Said that in my last video. The Age of Ultron reference. The one that came out in 2013.
Yeah.
It's name only. I mean, that's more a Wolverine story than it is an Avengers story. It's got like Sue Storm in it as well. But yeah, like you say, we were expecting. There's a lot of people expecting basically Avengers Age of Ultron to end with. Kind of a lot of friction between particularly Iron Man and Captain America.
Well, certainly when we saw things like the scene where they're both like chopping wood and like there's a clear argument between them, and we were thinking like that's going to be like the theme of the film, and it kind of really isn't.
Yeah, unless.
I mean, that's not to knock Age of Ultron, great film. I'm just saying, it's a surprise.
That's not what we expected.
Yeah.
So either they're going to kind of go more off that in Ant-Man, maybe.
But then again, I can't really see how you can get too dark and stuff in Ant-Man, because it seems to be a film that's going to have a sense of your humour.
Yeah.
And I really don't see how like a shrinking suit of armour is really going to like polarise the world's opinion. So
we'll have this conversation.
I mean, I don't know. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen in Ant-Man. We won't know until we watch it. But
I mean, from what I get the sense of, something after the events of Age of Ultron has caused Hank Pym's property that he guarded, played by Michael Douglas, to become wanted by the government. Basically like Iron Man's suit in Iron Man 2, the government wants it. They say that's handed over to the American people. There's a lot of that going on, but and then some, because of the Age of Ultron events of that. So Hank Pym is kind of panicking, I don't want this to fall into the government's hands, because he even says that in a trailer, something about they get, having the power of God is like a dangerous thing. So he hands it down to Scott Lang. That's what I'm understanding. That's kind of what I get from the trailer as well. So again, it's kind of thematically doing it. But like you said, I agree with you. there's more of the sowing the seeds for Civil War and the going against superhumans in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. than there has been in the film so far.
Yeah, so it looks like next episode they're going to be like going up against the Inhumans to some degree.
Next episode, as in the first film after the movie has opened in
The
America.
first episode after the movie, not the first film.
Yeah,
There isn't going to be an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. film, I'm pretty sure of that.
no, the first episode of Agents. The first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that's going to air after the movie is aired in America, because it's kind of disorientating for us because we got the film a week prior in America. So the episode that we just watched that we got illegitimately, let's put it that way, from a friend of ours who kindly gave us it on a disc and put it through the door. We don't even know who this contact is. We didn't download it. We do not recommend downloading stuff illegally. Watch it on Channel 4 or whatever, in about 5 weeks' time. And get even more disorientated. But yeah, we got the episode that aired last night, which is you're supposed to really watch before seeing Age of Ultron. Not that it really matters though. I mean, there's kind of a bit of a thing right at the end, like.
Yeah, it's basically strongly implying that the raid on the Hydra base that they do is what gives them Von Strucker's location that they kind of then pass on to Maria Hill, because you actually see her again.
Yeah.
And she ultimately passes it on to the Avengers. Now, there's been no mention of the helicarrier, so maybe I was wrong about that.
It did seem that way, because they were like...
Yeah, because the next episode seems to be, like, dealing with...
Inhumans.
Yeah, so unless, like, that's going to be something that happens in the, like, finale to it, I don't know.
It could be, because...
It's kind of weird, because they seem to make, like, a bit of a point of it in the film of, like, oh, some old friends help me play out mothballs. Well, who then?
I still think it could be, because I read somewhere on the official page, I think it was, they said 3 episodes in a row are going to fit in with Age of Ultron. And that where he says, in Age of Ultron, where Nick Fury says, some friends got me the helicarrier.
Then again, you had your own theory about what the tie-in might actually be.
The tie-in could actually be the cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just kind of get together. They're tasked to move a knackered old tractor into a barn for Nick Fury, so they can kind of hide behind it and like unveil himself, as you saw in the film.
And screw with Tony Stark.
Yeah, so they might be like, "Can you just move this? That's going to be a connection, moving a tractor into a barn."
Vital work.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really not as epic as
that's us just
TV,
being snarky
TV versus movies. That's as epic as the TV one gets. But we can kind of go on ad nauseum about this, but we'll probably save it because
coming back to what we were talking about, the initial thing about Joss Whedon. So we've kind of gone way off topic.
Well, I was going to say, we can talk more about the series itself in like 2 weeks when we've seen the last 2.
Yeah, we'll probably do like a final kind of closing review.
Yeah, but yeah, is there something else you want to say now about Joss Whedon?
No, like I said, I think we covered it pretty well. I mean, from some of his comments, they seem a bit dickish and a bit like he's got an axe to grind. I wouldn't lose your shit of like, oh, it's not canon, until somebody a bit more officially in with the Marvel thing comes out and says, yeah, we're abandoning it as canon. I would just continue as normal, to be honest.
To put what you just said in context as well, before anyone says, this is Joss Whedon, he is the man, he is the Avengers man, how can you say something? He's done 2 of 11 films, to put in context.
Yeah, and he is on his way out. He's specifically doesn't want to do anymore, he's kind of burnt out.
Yeah, you're saying somebody like Kevin Feige, who was produced...
Yeah, or somebody else like high up in that side of things turns around and says, look, this isn't canon, we don't care about it.
Yeah.
Fine.
We'll see anyway.
But at the moment, it's just Joss Whedon that's come out and said these things, so don't lose your shit over it.
And we'll see again, like I say, we can have this conversation in like 2019 when the Inhumans movie comes out. We can say, well, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was full of shit because the Inhumans don't resemble even slightly. And if they have like a Quake character that's not actually Sky, it's like, they've kind of retconned it a bit. But I'm happy to leave it there for now, unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, I think that we can close it there. I mean, you should go back and see some of our earlier videos. I've done a special Superman versus Batman kind of...
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, actually, my videos...
No, you're not, nobody's supposed to watch yours. Yours is crap.
Mine had more views.
Watch mine.
Yours.
Watch mine. Watch mine.
The what was the question about?
How do they fight?
How does Batman fight Superman? Is it realistic kind of thing? We both 2 separate videos. Mine had more views. He's pissed off about it.
Watch mine.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Right, we'll leave it there. It is Brand X Reviews. There's a lot of information coming up on how to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which if you don't know how to do that, you're a bit of a retard. But also there's the Facebook page and the website and all that stuff. So
yeah, have fun. We'll see you whenever we do a next video.
bye. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Just so you know, for more news, reviews and retrospectives, you can like our page on Facebook, simply called Brand X Reviews. But as well as that, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube via this video. You can also bookmark our website, which is brandxreviews.com, which is pretty much a central hub for everything that I've just mentioned. So check that out and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.